on we go. As you see, boosting P&C revenue through life insurance. We'll talk about why to sell life. A lot of property and casualty agencies don't, because sometimes they're intimidated, sometimes they don't see the importance. Lots of reasons why, but we'll get into that. How to create leads. And then third, how to sell it, or let us sell for you. That's actually one of the things that's unique about Penny, is our ability to even take that off your plate. First on the why is retention. We'll get into the more, I think, important why from a moral and personal level. But just for profitability, you're running a business, and obviously that business needs to be profitable. You all know the stats on monoline versus dual line on retention. Your whole life is built around renewals and building up that block. And if you do monoline, you only have a 50% retention. Dual line is 90, which is great. It's a massive improvement, but still, every year you're going out and having to hustle to replace 10% of the block you just lost. So if you have $1 million block, well, that's 100,000 brand new premium. You've built your block of business to a 10 million annual premium renewal. That means every year you've got to go hustle $1 million of brand new premium just to not go backwards. As you see on that graphic, adding life, it bumps it to 99%. So basically, it builds a moat around your renewals. So forgetting the rest of what we're going to talk about, if you want to grow your revenue block and not go backwards and not have to work so hard to make that happen, make sure you sell life, because that bumps it up to 99%. That was something Allstate drilled into our heads. Another reason is an immediate revenue boost. Several states like California, Florida, and Texas, right now it's almost impossible to write new homeowners business. I have agents, several agents in California who they're in total limbo, wondering how to make money, not only to have renewals that are going away because so many companies are canceling in their states, but on top of the lower revenue they're still having to pay a lot of their people the same. And so selling life is offsetting that. Now, if you're not in a state where you're having that happen, great. That means that it's even more of a boost to your revenue. Actually, one of the things that I'll show you in a little bit is something that I borrowed from an agent in Denver. He had a book of business, I want to say it's about 5 to 7 million. And being Allstate, all it was personal, not as much commercial. Those of you with commercial, there's quite a bit more there as well. In fact, those can be some really nice cases. Anyway, with about a $5 million block of business, simply instituting one of the tools that I'm going to show you, he sold about 185,000 of life premium a year. Now, they didn't pay this kind of commission, but in the real brokerage world, most products are going to pay between 60 to 100% of first year premium in commission to the agency, which I rounded off to 80% between the two. And that is 148,000 of extra revenue for the agency. And that was simply instituting something new into their procedures, which was quite easy, just a matter of creating a habit. Now, let's talk about the reason I'm passionate about life insurance, and that's what it does. I'm sure you all see on Facebook or Instagram these GoFundMes when somebody loses a family member, and all it is to pay final expenses, not even to replace their income. Every time I see one of these, my heart breaks, and part of me wants to say, see, people, this is why you get life insurance, to replace your income. What's going to happen to this family? Now, obviously, that's not the appropriate response to be sensitive at that point, but that's the reality. Is if their homeowner and car insurance agent had talked to them about life insurance, we wouldn't be seeing this. So what all happens? Well, besides those funeral costs that people are trying to get right now in front of them, bigger financial effect, people lose their mortgages, cars get repossessed, widows inherit the debts, and of course, children can't go to college. It creates poverty, especially in women. Among widows without life insurance, 39% struggle to meet basic needs within the first year. And more than 75% of widows living in poverty had not been poor prior to the death of their husband. I love to tell a story when I'm speaking with clients about a scenario with an actual friend of mine back in my 20s, of all things, 30 years ago. Uh, Lisa, she was married to a youth pastor. He didn't make a ton of money, obviously, as a youth pastor, but he made a point to have a $500,000 policy, which in his 20s was pretty dang cheap. And they're still quite cheap, even cheaper. Um, he ended up with cancer and died in his 20s. So she was left with two little girls, one a baby, one a toddler. And I think of this in two different lives that could have happened. One life was she had to sell the house, work two, maybe three jobs. So not only did the girls lose their daddy, they pretty much lost their mommy because she would have worked two or three jobs and lived in a lot less desirable of a neighborhood, going to a lot less desirable schools. Um, Perhaps maybe she would have settled for a guy that she probably wouldn't have really married, but things got really tight. Um, so you needed the two incomes to raise the kids. Um, who knows if her uh, past husband would want that guy as the daughter's dad? But thankfully, he had the life insurance. And so what actually happened is that she was able to take off work while I'm sorry, not to take off work. She was able to stay home with the kids until they got to school age, and in the meantime, make a plan for her own education of what she was going to do once the girls were in school, and stay in the same house in the same neighborhood. Those girls ended up going to a good school. Down the road, about 9 or 10 years, she found a fantastic guy that her first husband would have been proud to have raise his daughters, and life ended up being hugely different. All because he had about a $20 a month premium on his term insurance. So sorry to take so long on that, but that is just the reality of life insurance. People talk about life insurance and their eyes glaze over because people selling it talk about what it is. The reality is it's what it does. And I'm sure most of you have some kind of story that you know, for good or for bad, of where it could have saved lives, literally. So let's take a look at risk comparison. Chance of total loss of a house is minuscule. I tried to find stats and no AI anywhere was able to come up with that percentage. But 5% of people who have homeowners will make a claim in a year, which is higher than I thought, but an average of about $15,000. Um, Chance of a total loss of a car is 1.6% in a year. So we're making sure that we got our home and our car covered for much smaller chances. The chance you'll die, I didn't have to Google this one or find it on AI. That's 100%. So now, obviously, the key thing is when. So I also looked up and researched that for a 30-year-old couple, husband and wife, at age 30, um, the chance of one of them dying before 65 is 30%. Well, if they're a 30-something-year-old couple and they got a 30-year mortgage note, well, 30% chance one of them is going to die before that house is paid off, let alone whatever other income is needed. Great. I know I need to sell life, but how? Well, I'm glad you asked. Uh, that's a big challenge in a PNC agency quite often because it sounds like a daunting task because people make it a lot harder than it has to be. At Penny, we've made it much easier. I'll start off with what's called account rounding. Now, this one actually does require a little effort. There's some stuff we'll touch on in a bit that really is almost no effort. But this one, once you get the process going, it doesn't require effort. Simply instituting practices and procedures for your employees in the agency. Um, I mentioned a system that I will say, quote unquote, borrowed from a PNC agent who did this very well. In our industry, it's all about R&D, rip off and disseminate. There are no original ideas, but there are good ideas that are worth sharing. So we actually have this on file, and we can send it to you so you can edit it to fit your agency and obviously your logo and such. So what this agent would do is anytime one of his CSRs would talk to a client on the phone, and by the way, it's easy to do stuff on email, but you'll have way better retention if you actually talk to people. Um, so they would do some service. There would be some sort of service interaction. You don't want to do this just randomly out of nowhere, and you don't want to do it when they're mad at you. But typically, if they're happy with the service they just received, uh, the CSR would talk to him and say, "Oh, by the way, looks like we need to update your file. It's not quite complete. Let me just take a minute or two to go ahead and run through to make sure we have everything up to date." Now, in their um, CRM, they would have it where they can mark it, because you don't want to do this every time you talk to them. But if it hadn't been done in a year, it's kind of a mini policy review, really. But they're basically saying, hey, I just want to make sure we have this. Your address is that. Your phone number is this. You see it on the screen. I don't want to belabor everything, but it's all just very matter of fact. Have your email address. Is that correct? Great. So it looks like we have your home, auto covered, any toys. All right. Your liability limits are X and Y. Do you have anything else that will protect your assets if you cause an accident that exceeds these? By the way, freebie here, obviously that's an umbrella. So this sheet is not only about life and such. This will help with umbrella. Um, Other than work, where you have your life insurance, that's key, because people will always say, "Oh, I got it at work." Well, that's maybe one-time income usually, and if they move to another job, they're dependent on that. If they've lost their insurability, too bad, so sad. You got to stay at a job you hate because you're now closer to dying and you don't have life insurance. So I always discount that. So other than work, where do you have your life insurance? And even if they might say, well, why do you need to know? Well, the answer is that if something happened to you in that car wreck or whatever, people are going to come to us wondering where it's at. And I just need to know where I can tell them to look. Obviously, this is not a salesy thing. This is not for your licensed people. This is just fact finding. And okay, well, how much do you have? How long does it last? How many years of your income does that replace? How many years you needed to replace? Then a quick DI question. And if the answers above show a need, now this could be modified based off something that I will show you later. But hey, it looks like there's a gap in your coverage with A, B, or C. So and so in our office specializes in that area. It'd be a good idea for you to chat with them about that. Is it better for them to get a hold of you tomorrow morning or Friday afternoon or whatever? And then, great. You hand that sheet off to the person who's life licensed, or on what we'll show you, um, you can actually hand them off to our people if you don't want to hire and train a life person. So here's a case study of someone else who instituted something similar to this. A good sized agency, a 9-person property and casualty team, and was generating 29 to 30 life referrals a month. Now, obviously, not every referral is a sale, but they're people who need to talk. And usually, if you've got somebody good who can work with them, that is a good percentage of those folks will close. But these are all just PNC agents. And he said, we didn't pitch life insurance. We just made it part of the process. I told my team, ask every client, then I tracked it. Now, I mentioned there's a couple different ways, one that requires some work, one that doesn't. Well, this one, it's going to take a little effort, because let's be real, managing people, no matter what you're doing, takes effort. So, oh, so what he did was, number one, make life a key performance index. That's what KPI is, meaning not optional. So everyone was expected to refer one person a week. Could be as simple as, hey, thanks for getting your auto home covered. Where's your life at? That's even without doing that other sheet. um, Not as a promotion, just a matter of adding some verbiage, which I say it's very easy. It's just a matter of adding the verbiage. Um, some of the CSRs might be like, well, that's something else to do. Is it worth it? we'll talk about here in a second, make it worth it for them. uh, and Mike would go ahead and put sticky notes and reminders for the first 15 days. It's just a matter of changing habits. Once you get through a couple of weeks of getting that habit to always ask, it's part of the process. And just like that guy where I showed you that other block that would have paid 148,000 of annual commission in revenue, that was developed not from lots of sales and making or being salesy. It was from simply making the process work. So for the first 30 days, he tracked it personally. He'd highlight the wins in team meetings, created habits through accountability, repetition, and of course, a bonus. I mean, let's be real. Pavlov had a point. Some people respond to cash. I know in some offices, I would personally pay the CSRs referring me life leads $10, $20 per lead. Now, whether I sold them or not, to them, they're like, dang, okay, I just gave him 5 referrals this week. And I'm like, great, I just paid them 100, but I made out of those 5 referrals, 3 sales. Well worth it. Some people respond better to PTO. Give them time off. The money, whatever. But you tell them they can take off early on Friday if they get you a referral or 2, they're going to get you 12. So you know, find out what people in your office do. Find out what makes them tick. So use that as a bogey to jumpstart the process. And he's getting 29 to 30 life referrals a week. And typically speaking, a qualified referral is usually going to be around a third that get turned into a policy. And do the math. So before I hop into this next part on Insurio, there was a slide I was going to put in that I did not mention. And somehow in my saving, it did not get saved. I will own that. And that's on your commercial clients. What we've talked about so far is just with the personal lines. I mentioned earlier about how commercial lines are pretty lucrative. And it's so stinking easy. I mean, so easy. It's adding one question when you're bringing on a commercial account. Because you're, of course, talking about the value of things in their business, right? I would hope so. Otherwise, how are you covering them? So why not talk about the value of their business? And it's one quick question that is so servicey, the old Columbo, oh, by the way, and that's, by the way, when's the last time you had your business appraised? Pretty standard, non-threatening question. Most of the time, the answer is never, or years ago, or I read somewhere that it's X amount times book, which obviously rules of thumb are almost always wrong. Uh, so unless it's been done in the last 1 or 2 years, which again, very rare it is, then you simply follow with, well, heck, one of the carriers I work with will actually do a business valuation for free. Let me just give you this sheet to give to your bookkeeper, get it back to me, and we'll tell you what your business is worth. Awesome service. Imagine how much your commercial clients would love that, because small business owners, that's their baby. That's what they're building for their own retirement. I want to know what the heck it's worth. Now, of course, when you come back with a report of what it's worth, it's going to have ideas in there about buy, sell, key person. And we'll talk about buy, sell here in a little bit when I show you Insurio. Buy, sell, key person, maybe some kind of golden handcuffs for a key employee that they don't want to get poached from another competitor. And those are some really nice sized cases. So forgetting the numbers we talked about before, we start getting to some of those cases, you're talking 10, 20, $30,000 premiums, which are well worth the, oh, by the way, when's the last time you had your business appraised? And oh, by the way, on any of these things, please reach out to me. I have pieces. I didn't want to clutter the screen with every piece possible. So please reach out to us here at Penny and we can get you whatever you need to help you in this process. Anyway, so now I'm going to show you really an incredibly low effort system to help to sell more life in your agency. and that's Insurio. It's something we created internally for our own usage back around 2000 when this new internet thingy was cool and we were seeing if we could sell insurance over it. And we created an entire electronic platform all in one that back in the 20 teens, we said, I bet you our agents in the field might like this. So that's what we did. Let me do a switch of, bring this on over here. I'm going to pull off the PowerPoint and move this over. All right, so there's a dashboard, and actually you'll see a lead there, and I'll actually create one here in a second. But what this is an all-in-one platform to sell more life insurance in an automated fashion. Now, whether that's somebody in your office who sells it or whether you just don't want to be bothered and it comes to one of our team to sell it, that's fine. We have no dog in the hunt on that. So I'm going to start with some of the marketing side, just as an FYI. With 25 years of experience in direct-to-consumer sales, you can probably imagine we have quite a bit of content created. You'll notice here on the page, it shows 164 pages. Now, I will admit that I have a master account that will show everything across the board. So yours will, and I say this kind of facetiously, only have about 86, 88 pages worth of content. And obviously that's not only. So I'm going to go on the right and filter down. I just want to look at emails to send to consumers. And I mentioned business planning. So let's say your database is segmented. Hopefully it is, where you mark who your business owners are, who your young families are, who your retirees are, that kind of thing. If not, quick business hack. That's a really good idea. So that way you can focus and target marketing later. Anyway, so I'm going to apply filters for life insurance. And now there's only about 3.5 pages of content to read through. Cool. Not nearly as much. But this one here, I'm going to click on. And obviously it does not have all this clutter on it where it says brand header. That's where your logo will go. Agent information, obviously, will have your info there. And content. What if your business partner told you, I'm going away forever, collect our accounts receivable, complete our contracts, sell our assets, pay our creditors, and give my spouse half what's left. If there isn't enough money to pay our debts, you'll have to make up the difference. You think they're crazy, right? Well, that's what's going to happen if they die tomorrow unless you're prepared. Oh, shoot, that stinks. So let me get a quote. Obviously, if it's sending this out for you, it's going to go to a place for your quote to show up, and they'll get a quote, and it will show up as a lead in your inbox. Or if you don't want to be bothered with it and want one of our folks internally to sell it, we will be your life specialist. We'll have somebody who's already a professional in doing this, does it for a living, take it, just like you would say somebody coming into your office, hey, be my life specialist, you work my block of business, we'll split it 50-50, same thing. You're sending out the marketing. If you'd rather not sell it yourself, which bluntly, a lot of people do both. A lot of folks say, hey, I want the whole pie. And others say, you know what, I'm too busy running my business, but I want it done. Either one is fine with us, but you can take the whole commission yourself. We still do all the back office, or you can let one of our people do it and split comp with them, just like you would if you had an agent in your office doing it for you. So let me go over here. There are also campaigns. So September coming up is Life Insurance Awareness Month. So you'll see here, I click on September, and it has 4 different emails that go out throughout the month. All you have to do once you've uploaded your database into here is select a campaign, set it up, and it's going to send out to all the folks you've selected to get this. Now, drip email marketing, as you probably know, is like all advertising. It's not some silver bullet that you send out one email and 50 people are beating down your door to buy life insurance. But like any advertising, it's about repetition, about keeping brand awareness front of mind, and eventually you catch somebody at the right time in their life where some events happened and they're like, oh yeah, that's right. Sally's insurance does this. Let me get a hold of them. Oh yeah, my daughter just got engaged. I don't think her fiance is smart enough to know that he needs to get life insurance. Let me get a quote for him. So yeah, it's just a matter. This will allow it keep front of mind, and just by dripping on your database will provide regular leads for life insurance. The problem is most people don't think their PNC agency handles life insurance, no matter how much you say you do. And you might think that they know, unless you're doing something proactively like this, they don't come to you. And life insurance is not like the field of dreams where if you build it, they will come. Uh, you have to be proactive. So this helps you to be proactive without putting in much effort at all, except for once a month deciding what campaign to send to your folks. Now, speaking of quoting, if you have a website, most people do anymore, you can create a quoting widget to put on your website. You can make it say whatever you want. You can see I put gibberish there. Make the colors match your theme of your site. And I won't get too detailed there, but you'll see that you can put a widget on your site. Now that's important. You'll notice that in a lot of property and casualty sites, people, they may have a link that says to get a quote for life, but they never get any play with it because on property and casualty, people know they're going to have to talk to somebody. On life insurance, if all they can do is put in the name and phone number, they're going to stop engaging right there. It's like they have this view in their head of the guy from Groundhog Day, Ned Ryerson. And they're like, I don't want that dude calling me every day for the next 6 months. So they stop. But if you have a quoting widget, it actually will, people will engage. And even if you don't have a quoting widget, Insurio can produce a landing page for you. And here's a landing page. Quick hack. If you're trying to use social media to build your business, viral rarely works. Relying on your clients to share about you doesn't really work. You need to do sponsored posts. That's how Instagram, Facebook, etc. They have all the information about everybody that's on there. The person scrolling, what it costs to them is their information. Where those folks make their money is advertising, obviously. So you can say, hey, this is my ideal client. I want to talk to people in this zip code who are this profession, who have X number of kids and like the same sports team as me, whatever it is. And you can have ads show up. It's actually pretty cheap. And so if you have a website, obviously you link your site. If you don't have a site, well, that's why I'm showing you this. Insuria will create a landing page for you that you can link. In this case, you'll see that it created one for me. I don't have my own site, but it created this one. So a person comes on, they get a quote, and I'm just going to put in random stuff here. And we'll put gibberish there. And I'll put Colorado because that was 719. And compare quotes. So now they got a comparison and say, hey, yeah, that looks really dang good. For a 55-year-old, get 30-year term, 750,000. I'll do that. I might say, well, I know that pyramid, so I'll select that button, and it says my request has been submitted. So now I come over to my dashboard, and remember there was only one lead there before. Now there's two. Not just the first one, but now Mr. is on there, and so you can call. So again, someone in your office who's life licensed can call and say, "Hey, Mr. I see you wanted some life insurance. Let's talk about it." Or one of our people will call and say, "Hi, this is Christine over here at Acme Insurance, whatever your insurance agency name is, and I saw you got that." So they could be your life specialist as well. I won't get into the detail on the quoting and submitting, except for showing you this, and that is you don't have to do an across the board. You can make it blanket that they all come to you or that they all come to us, but you can also do what some people do, just screen. You might have plenty of time, or you might see a really big case for a really important client that you want to handle. Great. Over here, you make the sale. That's all you have to do, and we do the rest. Once you make the sale, we're going to do all the follow-up, even delivering the policy, you can see. And if you don't want to make the sale, if you want our people to do it, well, here you go over here. You choose either way. So anyway, I'm not going to get too much into all the details of Insurio, but I did want to at least show you that as a tool. Let me bring this back up here. And decided it wanted to go back to the very first. So here's what we talked about, obviously. Cross-selling life insurance will boost retention on your current property and casualty block, even if you don't care about life insurance and you don't even think about that, hey, if one of the mother or father in this family dies, now I no longer have the homeowner because they've got to move to an apartment somewhere else. It builds the retention on your core business and boosts first year revenue. In order to do that, you can do whatever effort level you want to make the most. You should take a little bit of time to get your staff trained in changing the verbiage, just adding a sentence or a question each time. And by the way, I didn't mention this earlier, but our staff here can get on Zoom calls to help train your staff. You may say, Dave, that's great. I'd love to, but I really don't know that myself. That's fine. We do. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you grow your business. So get a hold of your rep over here. If you don't have a rep, well, reach out to us and we'll get you one. And then we can help train your staff so that they can help to grow your business, the retention, the revenue, and use electronic tools where all you got to do is once a month pop in there, tell it what marketing to send out, and you can even let us sell for you, so you know your people taken care of, and you still make revenue, and you've not had to get out of your comfort level, staying in your lane, building your business the way you want. So that's it. I guess, Chris, if you want to hop on, and if there have been questions pop in, let me know.
Sure. Yep. I'll take any questions. And question I have, how can people get in touch with you if they can't think of a question right now and they just want to get in touch?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. That's the next slide. Yeah, so if you have a different brokerage manager here, obviously their first initial last name at pennyinsurance.com. Our main 800 number is 800-823-4852. My extension is 8791, or if you're like me and you hate going through dialing extensions, you can just dial 916-960-8791 to get me directly. So that, yeah, reach out. And I believe we are recording this, and this will be on our YouTube channel. So folks on YouTube, go over to pennyinsurance.com, check us out, email me, call me, and we'll help you grow your business.
So one question, so which life insurance products are best for P&C agents to start selling?
Good question. Now, there is a ton across the board that we handle. What I've found is that if this is not a specialty that people do, keeping it simple is the best. You don't want to get out of your depth. Stay with term and GUL. So what a GUL is a permanent plan, but it doesn't have all the cash value that can complicate things. Since property and casualty is more of a transactional type sale, the value sale, cash value, is great, but rather than confusing people and taking all your time to learn something new, which we're glad to help you, but keeping it simple as you implement new things. Term, quick, easy, by the way. I'll give you two sets of questions that I did not put in here, but they popped in my head. First is just a 3-question life insurance close if you're talking to somebody. Again, people don't want to talk about life insurance, what it is. They want to talk about what it does. And you'll notice the verbiage on here intentionally doesn't mention anything about insurance or companies or products. It's simply, hey, if you didn't make it home from work tomorrow, what's going to happen to your family? And then just shut up and let them talk. Don't suggest anything. Then when they're done answering, a lot of times it'll be like, well, I guess we could sell the house, raid the 401, whatever. Whatever the answer is, the second question is simply, oh, is that what you want? Now, if they say yes, well, obviously you don't have a prospect. They don't love their family. If they say no, well, then the third question is, well, how much do you feel you could comfortably set aside every month to solve this problem? So you've got a premium commitment. You're not saying how much could you afford like a used car salesman. So that's just a general topic because it talks about what it does. Then people might say, well, gosh, how much do I need? And you're like, I don't know, because that's not an area you work in. Well, this is really easy. And you don't have to be an expert. You just have to know very simple math. And the first question is, okay, so if you didn't make it home from work tomorrow, how much of your income would your family still need? Let them answer whatever it is. It could be their full amount that they make. Usually it is. It could be half of what they make, whatever. And you say, okay, well, how many years would they still need your income? Then they tell you that. Well, easy math. Take A from the first one times B the second, and that is your answer. They could say, well, my family would need 100,000 a year for the next 10 years. Okay, great, that's a million. If they say, whoa, that's a lot. Well, great, that's fine. Do you want to lower the amount per year? Or do you want to lower the number of years? So it's their math, and they own it. And you're not selling; you're just helping them to figure what they need. Anyway, sorry, side little uh, thing there, but back to the question: keep it simple. Term through at least when the youngest child is through college, ideally through retirement, and then some GUL, some lifetime. Because some people are like, yeah, I want that 100% guaranteed return. I don't want a 30% guaranteed return that I mentioned from the earlier stats about before 65. Hope that answers if too long.
And another question, how do I position life insurance for younger clients who may not feel they need it yet?
Well, if younger meaning no kids yet, um, that's a different story than younger. Because if they're younger and then even if it's a husband or wife that don't have kids yet but are married, and this is not meant to be sexist, it's just the reality of the way biology works. The husband should immediately have at least 10, if not 20 times his income, because something could happen to him with his wife being pregnant and they not know it. And now you've got a kid that's got to be raised till age 20. So the husband, as soon as they say I do, needs to have 20 times their income. And bluntly, at that young of an age, the income's not that high and it's so dang cheap. If it's somebody who's single, I still say get something because you're never healthier than you are right now. Um, Things happen in people's 20s and 30s. Well, heck, like that guy I mentioned in the story earlier, he was mid 20s. Um, but even if it doesn't kill him, somebody can all of a sudden be a diabetic. Some kind of thing happens in their life where now they're not insurable. They want to get married, great, but they're going to pay tons of rates. So I call it insuring your insurability. A 20-year-old insurance is so cheap. Just get something in place. That way down the road, at some point, they'll probably want a family. At some point, even if they don't have a family, they'll have a business, somebody who might depend on them. And actually, at that young, that might even be a discussion to have permanent. And we won't go too much into how permanent can work here. But for somebody who's 20 years old, gosh, getting a little $100,000, $200,000 whole life that'll be around forever. Because by the time they're in retirement, that's going to be a funeral anyway. So yeah, there's inflation. So that's what I would recommend on young folks. They still need it because they will die, and they're probably at some point in life will be somebody who depends on them.
And another question, how should I approach clients with health issues or impaired risk?
Oh, yeah. Well, health issues, I think, are a fantastic opportunity because they need it more and they're more likely to make a claim. Um, when I first started in the business, that's one of the things my manager taught me was that if you get somebody rated, you're their hero. Um, you're coming to them saying, hey, even though you have this and that, we can get you coverage. So if they're rated, they just need it more. If it's an affordability issue, well, we can always play with what the face amount or length of term is. But we at Penny specialize in impaired risk. I've done nearly 3 decades working with impaired risk. We have our own underwriter on staff in the agency who's on in our employee, not an insurance company, and we work with like 60 plus carriers. So if you have a person who has some difficult health issue, if anyone can find them coverage, we will. So just get a hold of us and say, hey, here's what I got. What do I need to know? And we'll work with you from there.
So I think those are all the questions. So yeah, thanks to everyone for joining. We're going to provide you with, for everyone that registered, we're going to provide you with a video recording of today's webinar. So we'll provide that within 24 hours.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for hopping on. Look forward to hearing from folks to help you grow your business.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time.